Hello, my name is Fame and welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video, focus, I need you to focus, thank you. In today's video, I'll be redesigning some old OCs, Kane and Silas. Don't look at that. Don't look at that either. It's not important right now. It's not important. It's not important. Okay. I've already made a video about these characters, but they were very one-dimensional. They were just what you saw on the paper, but I wanted to make those characters more interesting and more in-depth. So in this video, I'll be redesigning them. I'll be just drawing them on this page. It's not a reference sheet. I'll make a reference sheet for them eventually. But yeah, I just wanted to draw my characters out. And while I'm drawing them, I'll be giving you some tips on how to redesign and make your OCs more interesting. I know I struggle a lot when it comes to making really interesting OCs, but lately I've been getting better at that. And I want to share some of the tips that I've learned along the way that could possibly help you. If they can't, there's plenty of other videos that describe this maybe better than I can. So feel free to search around, but if this video does help you, be sure to give it a like, maybe comment, subscribe if you want to. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the video. So if you know anything about Kane and Silas, which isn't much, all I had for these characters was that Kane was a demon, Silas was a mouth creature, and they were dating. That's it. The day I made them, I just wanted weird creature OCs to be dating. But now that I've been redesigning and working on reference sheets for multiple of my characters, I wanted to do them as well, but they were boring. I didn't do anything with them. The idea for them, it was strong, but I executed it pretty weakly. So with the tips that I've recently discovered to help me redesign these characters, I did make them a lot more interesting, and I'll be sharing facts about them as well as tips to help you redesign your OC. This video is for characters you already have but want to make more interesting, but can also be applied to help you make original OCs. Before you can get into that, first and foremost, you need inspiration. So look through Pinterest, Instagram, Tumblr, or whatever art places you like and find some OC inspo. Try to make a mood board for them. My best friend gave me the idea to make a mood board for my OCs, and here are their respective mood boards. You can probably tell who belongs to who. One thing to keep in mind is a color palette. If you don't have a color palette already established while making a mood board, it might not come across as cohesive as you want it to. Establishing a color palette early on will also help during the drawing process, so you don't have to spend hours on end trying to figure out what colors work with which. Whenever it does come to a mood board, I say go for aesthetics, color, and clothing, or items your characters might enjoy or have. Yes, having a face in there is good, but for a mood board specifically, focus on the word mood. You want to invoke a certain feeling or just give a general idea of your character. Here are the mood boards I made for Kane and Silas. For Kane in the mood board, you can see 4 demons, but none of them really have a distinctly human face. And with Silas, you see one image of a human face, but there's nothing in it because he has no face. I also established their aesthetic in here. I don't know if you can tell, but with Kane, I went for more a dark academia vibe. And for Silas, I tried to lean into the more punk or grudge style. Like I've mentioned before, there are many ways for you to make your character more interesting, but these are the points I'll be sticking with today. Physical appearance, clothing practicality, personality and relationships, flaws and goals, and then at the end I'll give another bunch of tips. Now, the first 3 are more for, of course, how they physically look, but the rest are just to like deepen your character. So this video does help your character feel more in depth, but if you just want to figure out how to make them visibly more interesting, you can stop at the end of clothing practicality. One of the first and most important parts about your character is what they look like. You can design your OC however you want, but you want their design to make sense and stand out. And here's how you can do that. Think about their species. What features make them interesting? For Kane, since he's a demon, that would be his horns, floating head, 3 eyes, sharp teeth, and 4 arms. His other set of arms aren't visible because with the clothes he's wearing, he usually likes to hide his second set of arms. And for Silas, since he isn't a demon but he does reside in hell, it will be his pointy ears, large eye, black face and hair, and his teeth. If your OC is a cat girl, try adding more than just ears and a tail. Give them claws, fur, cat eyes, sharp teeth. Heck, you can even give them cat legs to make them look more interesting. And if they're just a human, exaggerate their features. Give them a big nose or an interesting hairstyle. Make them short or lanky. Give them big hands or make them have a mobility aid. Humans come in all shapes and sizes, so get creative. Step outside of your comfort zone. But let's say you're happy with how they look. I say still try to at least add a feature or two different from how they previously looked. For me personally, I love adding moles, acne scars, freckles, chipped teeth or teeth gaps. I also like to add under eye bags for my characters because that's a lot of the stuff I have. I have acne scars, eye bags, and I really like how that looks on other people. Also, nose shapes. I like the really big noses. I think it's Roman noses or something like that, but I really like adding that to my characters. This would also be a good time to think about their ethnicity, and also if they had previous character traits that you're planning to still apply to this character, like maybe they overwork, try adding eye bags, or make them always look tired, or they're wearing messy clothes and have messy hair, or if they're really energetic and accident prone, give them bandages or have scars all over them from how accident prone they can be. Just small stuff like that so you can make their physical appearance really stand out. Now onto clothing. What clothes do they like to wear? What's their aesthetic? How do you want their style to look like? And what would they wear for work? What year were they born? For Cain, he is a soul depth collector. He takes high-level souls and brings them back to hell. He was also born in hell around the 1940s, so I wanted to give him a type of suit. But what kind? Something that made him seem important and stand out. Something that will make him feel like he's better than everyone else. So I landed on the, excuse my pronunciation, El Pachi? Give me a second. The El Pucho Zoot suit. The broad shoulders, the unique and memorable style, mixed with the right color palette, would really make him stand out. As for Silas, he is an underground musician and tattoo artist, so his style would definitely be influenced by his work. So I made him punk, but more like a dad punk with really baggy clothes and jorts. He usually wears patch shorts, things he DIY'd, baggy shirts. Since his job isn't that serious, he's more carefree with his clothes. Also, design more than one outfit for your characters. Make one for their job and one with their PJs, or give them an outfit that is completely not their style. Just have fun with these outfits. Don't just stick with one, because a lot of people, when they create OCs, they like to draw their character in the same outfit every time. But get out of that. Design them in clothes they might wear, I don't know, to go to the movies, or like date clothes. Get creative. They are your character, so style them however you want. Are what they're wearing practical? Does it fit their job and make sense? You can't have a warrior character in a bikini, right? You can if you want. I don't judge. It was probably a beach episode or something. I don't really care. But if you want to make a character that has a sensible outfit, give them clothes that make sense. Cain doesn't need to get into fights, but if he has to, his top coat comes off and his heels. Yes, he's a short king. He wears heels. They're so cute. They're so cute. He wears thicker heels so that if he has to run, he won't stumble easily. For Silas, he doesn't have a dangerous or overly serious job, so he shows more skin and dresses comfortably. Also, my best friend gave me the greatest idea that at the bottom of Cain's heels, there's like a hoof imprint, so that when he walks through like snow or carpet or dirt, it'll look like a deer was walking on two legs, and I think that's so cool, so shout out to him for that. I love that idea. And finally, accessories. What do they like to wear? Are they a jewelry person or not? Do they like to show off or blend in? Everyone has their personal preference, but think about your character and how they feel about accessories. Cain doesn't like too many accessories, so he keeps it simple with a gold chain, a pocket watch, and an occasional briefcase depending on how much work he has that day. Silas is the complete opposite. He's always wearing jewelry, chains, DIY leather coats, you name it. He loves making accessories, so of course he'd want to wear them out. But don't just stop there. Think about stuff that is custom made just for them. Like for Cain, he likes to wear pump shoes, so he gets them custom made so that they're really sturdy, and they also come with a hoof at the bottom so that he can appear more cool. And like I mentioned previously, when it came to your character's appearances, their mobility aid. Think about how they would want that to look, how they want it to be designed. Think about the color, the shape. Just think about stuff like that that'll really make that character stand out. Also, with accessories that is like piercings and stuff, I really love characters that have a lot of piercings, like the ear gauges and stuff. So a lot of times when I do make a character, they are riddled with piercings or just like chains and stuff like that. So do add that to your characters. You can also apply shape language here. In simple terms, shape language is using a lot of shapes in a certain character to invoke a certain emotion. Like when you think of a really sweet or bubbly character, they usually go for softer shapes like circles or ovals. When you think of a threatening character, you think of more sharper shapes like triangles. Like from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the big bad wolf, he was riddled with triangles, and he was obviously like a really cool and scary type of character. If you want someone more stoic or serious, try go for squares. There's a lot of ways you can use shape language, but I didn't really apply that to my characters because I kind of forgot. But yeah, you don't have to apply this to your characters, but it's a really good thing to keep in mind when you are designing a character. Now that we have physical appearances out the way, let's get into personality and relationships. This next section will definitely help if you have a character that you want to write a comic or story about. You want your OC to stand out, whether it's from how boring or exciting they are. So let's think about personality traits you can use to make your OC more interesting. This could also help you understand your character better and maybe even have people relate to them. When you think of personality, let's think of more than just nice, caring, mean, etc. Is your character a good guy or bad guy? Are they introverts or extroverts? Are they a comedian or always gloomy? Start with that, then think of traits that would fall under each type of person. Another good way to learn about their personality is to take a personality quiz, but when you answer the questions, answer them the way you think they would. I highly recommend the 16 personality quiz just from the amount of information you get at the end. I've taken 2 quizzes for Kane and Silas, and at the end I'll share the results from both of them, but for now I'll just talk about my characters and words I use to describe them. Kane is definitely considered an anti-hero. Sure, he does contain really bad souls and brings them back to hell, but not only was he born and raised in hell, but most of his actions only benefit him and his father. He acts on logic instead of his emotions. His job requires him to act seriously and take on really important roles that could have dire consequences, so he's very hard on himself if he makes any mistakes. When it comes to his life outside of work, he doesn't really have one since he overworks himself often. He doesn't have many friends outside of work because he is extremely dependent and he only relies on himself and his father for anything. Since he is pretty well known for his father's work, he does have a pretty big ego and self-confidence. With the information we have, here are some of the words I would use to sum up his character. Clever, loyal, impatient, stubborn, controlling, arrogant, selfish, and dependent. When finding words to describe your character, really make sure you're choosing the right words. Most of the words I use to describe Kane have a negative connotation to them because he is not a good person. Why would I describe him as bubbly if he is far from that? Why would I describe him as mindful if he is very selfish? It wouldn't really make sense, so keep that in mind whenever you're trying to describe your character. Now let's talk about Silas. Silas is an introverted artist. They are very different from each other. I really love the opposite attracts trope. He loves to draw and tattoo his work on people. He's got a passion for music and playing his guitar in his free time. With his odd appearance, many people steer clear of him at first glance, so he's bad when it comes to making friends, and it's extremely awkward. He may be an introvert, but when he's in his element, he is very approachable. Outside of that, he tries not to interact with people due to his fear of rejection. He's gotten so used to being alone that he doesn't feel the need to make friends. He is also very curious and knowledgeable about art, music, witchcraft, and alternative subcultures. With the information, here are some words that I would use to describe and sum up his character. Creative, respectful, insecure, paranoid, fidgety, anxious, intelligent, and carefree. The words I use to describe Silas, even though they do not have that overall negative connotation to them, they do describe his personality type more, which is just overall a really anxious person. Before I forget, here are their results for their personality quizzes. Kane is a ISTJ-T and Silas is an INFP-T. They do go into depth about these personality types, also giving you a bunch of other information like how they view friendships and romantic relationships, their strengths and weaknesses, and also different percentages. So I highly recommend you go check that website out. And you can also do other quizzes like which Harry Potter house they're in. If I did have to think off the top of my head, I do think Kane would be what would he be? I think he would be Slytherin, and Silas might be Ravenclaw. Now on to relationships. Not just romantic relationships, but friendships and their relationships with their parents and or kids. Now that you figured out their personality, you can try to figure out how they would handle certain relationships. You can also use their relationship with their parents to influence their personality. Like Cain, for example, his father is a very, very, very big reason why he is the way he is today. If you have other OCs in this universe, you can describe how your OC would interact with those characters. I do not have any other characters for this universe, so I'll just be describing Cain and Silas's relationship and Cain's relationship with his father. But before I get into Cain's relationship with his father, let's talk about Cain and Silas's romantic relationship. Their relationship at the start was pretty rocky due to Silas's awkwardness and insecurities and Cain's ego. They are two very different people and their views are pretty different, so getting to know each other, being open and honest with each other, and even physical touch was difficult. Neither of them expected to be in a relationship, but Cain was surprisingly more happy about it than he thought. Cain enjoyed being out with Silas, but Silas preferred staying in due to his social anxiety. Slowly, Cain helped him out of that, and Silas helped him be more considerate and less harsh. Only towards him, though. In this relationship, Cain is definitely more hostile to people. He is very protective over Silas because of how awkward he is, and he already knows that people would be very judgy towards him, but he doesn't care because he loves him. That is so funny. And Cain, since he's also like very hostile, he would not hesitate putting someone 6 feet deep if need be for his man. And you know what? He's a king for that. He's a king for that. Now, as for Cain's relationship with his father, it's far from good. It's far from good. Once his father started to gain power in hell, their relationship slowly turned from a father-son type of relationship to a more assistant and boss type of relationship. Since his father gained power pretty early on, Cain never really had a good relationship with his father, and that only worsened the more his father grew popularity. He works under his father as a soul debt collector. He just goes to the living world and he takes like really bad people's souls and then he brings them back to his father. What does his father do with those souls? I have no idea. Didn't think of that yet, but I'll probably figure it out. His father uses his son's skills and that's pretty much it. He doesn't see his son as a son, but just as a worker. Cain's father uses his power, wealth, and manipulation to make sure that his son doesn't plan to leave his side, and if he does, he'll be sure to suffer many consequences. He is ruthless and willing to do anything he can to keep his title, and if it means overworking his son, then he's fine with that. Cain believes that his father's behavior is justified and doesn't question him, but his father's constant pressure does influence his negative traits. Since he is always working for his father, his traits do rub off on him, but the more he hangs out with Silas, the less that seems to bother him and the more he seems open to discovering himself. Now we're on to the last section of this video, which is flaws and goals. Even though this is the last section, I will be giving a few more tips. I just won't go into them as deep as I did these other tips, so stay tuned for that. Having a perfect character is boring, straight up. No one is perfect. Someone who seems to have their life together always has flaws. I have never met a person in my life who was picture perfect. So don't make your character picture perfect. Give them flaws. Please. Let's leave the Mary Sues in the past. We loved them when we were younger, not anymore. We like a character with some depth and flavor, okay? Give a perfectionist really bad social skills. Give a hero character questionable morals. Give a villain a soft spot. Give them flaws that make your character feel more or less human. Personally, I like when a character has very questionable morals. I don't know why. I really love villain characters like Miles Quartz from Avatar. He's not a good person, like at all in the first movie, but in the second movie, he's questioning his morals. And I don't know why, but I really, really love that. He is an extremely flawed character, but I really love that about him. Your character does not have to be that flawed if you don't want them to. Their flaws can be really simple or as complex as you want them to. Just make sure they have flaws of some sort. Because Mary Sue characters, sure, they were fun when you were kids, but like, let's be real. I don't like Mary Sue characters. I don't like a character who's perfect because I'm not perfect and I can't relate to that. And not every character has to be relatable, but no one is perfect. Everyone has made a mistake, whether it's big or small. So just having a character who literally can't seem to do anything wrong, it doesn't really feel like a character. With that being said, here are some of the flaws that I gave Cain and Silas. I believe that Cain has way more than Silas. That's because he is a very heavily flawed character. That man is far from good. He's in hell for a reason, people. But anyways, here are some of his flaws. And some of these, yes, they are from his personality traits, but I did throw in a couple new ones. Cain is impatient, stubborn, controlling, arrogant, selfish, dependent, distrustful towards others, easily angered, he holds grudges, he's manipulative, cynical, and he often hides his true emotions. As for Silas, he is insecure, paranoid, gullible, anxious, always seeking others' validation, overly emotional. He tends to self-isolate, and he lacks a lot of self-confidence. Hopefully, these flaws can give you some ideas for flaws for your characters, but like I said, they don't need to be over the top. They can be as simple as you want them to be, and I think that these flaws fit their character and personality pretty well. Here is what we have so far. Do not talk about my legs. The background isn't really important, so I'm not worried about the background. Sorry about my cats. I might add more accessories, but yeah, this is what I have so far. I really like it, and I'll be using color pencil for this piece today. I want to use more color pencils. I didn't really like how they felt in my last sketchbook, so that might change in this one. Now we're on to the last part of this video, which is goals. A character's lifestyle, interests, and even relationships can determine their goals. Now, these goals do not have to be over the top. They could be as simple as wanting to get a job or as complex as wanting to be world leader. Whatever the goal is, make sure it's unique to your character. To get a good idea of your character, I say make at least 2 or 3 goals for them. You don't need to have 100 goals for your characters, because if you look at everyone else, not everyone has many goals. Make some of the goals realistic if you want people to relate to your character, or make them as crazy as becoming a god. I don't care. It's your character. Do whatever you want. But here are some of the goals I have for Cain and Silas. Cain surprisingly does not have many goals, and it's due to his father's constant control over his life. From the moment Cain's father gained power in hell, he has always followed in his footsteps because he was forced and manipulated to do so. From the constant manipulation came the loss of his self-identity. However, after meeting Silas, he does start to discover things about himself, but for the sake of this video, I'll just mention his current goals. His current goals are to follow in the footsteps of his father, or take his father's place and start his own line of work. Silas, on the other hand, has more freedom over his life, so he can do whatever he wants, and his goals aren't influenced by anyone else. His goals are to one day own a tattoo shop, start or join a band, and grow out of his anxiety and finally make friends. These are all the tips I've currently been using when it comes to redesigning my OC, and hopefully these can help you in some way. If not, there are other ways that you can redesign and make your character more interesting. There's plenty of videos on YouTube, on TikTok. Maybe you can ask one of your favorite artists what their tips and tricks are. But everyone's designing process is different, so don't beat yourself up too bad if none of these tips do help you. Ask questions. Literally sit down and play 21 questions with your OC and figure out the answers to those questions, okay? Make a Spotify playlist for them. I've made several, and I think they're pretty dang cool. Pick one concept about their old design and make that their entire character. Like, if they like the color red, make them only obsessed about red things. If they really liked horror, make them a horror character now. Just go crazy with it. Ask your friend for help. Look, sometimes you're scared of a little criticism. Just ask your friend, okay? It's better to ask than to stay in the dark. Use references from the time period your character came from. I used a whole bunch of 1940s references for Cain, and then for Silas, I went for like 80s and 90s, early 2000s references. It'll help, trust me. Use the Pit Crew website. That's what I did for some recently made OCs. That's what I used to help make my OC Jamie's girlfriend Quinn. I'm telling you, just don't claim that art as your own. Use it as a reference and then build off of it. Do not just claim that as your own, okay? It's not. And let's see. Add your character to a pre-existing universe, then redesign them to fit that universe, like a spider Sona. Just take your character, insert them into that universe, and then redesign them so they better fit it. Come on now. And I don't really have any other tips beside that, but there is some accounts on TikTok that I would recommend. I'm gonna put the screenshots up on screen now. I highly recommend you check out both of them, especially Charo something. I forgot the name, but definitely check them out because they give you a whole bunch of designs and like ideas when it comes for stories, character jobs, things like that. Just stuff about your character. Now, this video is coming to a close. I'm gonna stop talking. Y'all enjoy these last few seconds. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Here's the finished piece. Here it is. I'm still not good with colored pencils, but I did try. I did cross hatching for the background. I didn't really care about the background since that wasn't the main focus of this piece. So I just did some cross hatching. I did marker over top. Same with the bottom. They're just sitting like on a weird plank or whatever. Like I really did not care about the background. Here's Silas and Kane. They're so cute. He's much taller than Kane. Like much taller. My cat's like right there and her kittens are in my bed, so if you hear purrs, don't mind her. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this piece came out. I think this looks really cool. Let me give a quick zoom in. I really like it. I think it's cute. I will do a lot better, I hope, for their actual reference sheets. But this was a little fun project to do just to get my characters out. I'm really happy I redesigned them because I like them a lot more than whatever I had previously. Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I hope the tips did help. If they did, like I said in the beginning, like, comment, subscribe if you want. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. See you later.